Welcome, travelers, to another episode of the Time Travel Trio podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Hyde.
And we're
The
Time Travel
Trio.
Here
Yeah.
we are.
New year.
New year, same trio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
or
very accurate.
are we?
Where are we?
Or are we a bunch of Doors clones?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I could rock a bowler hat.
Yeah, I could see you rocking a bowler hat. I could definitely see Matt rocking a bowler hat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Could
like
you
a
pull
twirling-
off?
I don't think so. Not with all these dreads.
Yeah.
Be like, hello, top of the morning to you. I don't know what accent that was, but top of the
Yeah.
morning to you.
One of my social media pictures for a long time was me having like a curly mustache and like a black and white like motif going on.
Dude, you could do it.
Mhm.
You should try that.
That's our new thing. We're all just Doris.
Like the Sarsaparilla bar I was telling you about. You go there dressed as that, everyone be like,
Sure.
oh, look at him. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's how people talk.
And the 1920s.
Yeah,
At the
1920s.
Speakeasy.
Why, my golly, he looks quite snazzy. He looks like a jazz man, Dolores.
What?
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, welcome to 2018, everybody.
Time to meet the Robinsons plus Foreman and Marlis.
Yes. Ah.
This movie's like, well, okay, so Hyde, what'd you pick?
I chose Meet the Robinsons from 2007. It's a Disney animation film, the first animated film that they did after John Lasseter took over from Pixar and started taking over all of Disney's animation.
Hmm.
So, this is their first outing.
And so you chose this because...
My last name's Robinson. It's
Yeah.
called Meet the Robinsons, and there's time travel in it.
And this
Boom.
would be... This family, I feel like you could very much fit into.
Maybe.
I think. I think you could fit in there.
Yeah, I mean, I could. They would
Yeah.
be an interesting family to be a part of.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, it's a lot of whitewash, so they can use some
It is.
diversity.
I mean, Angela Bassett is the voice of,
The orphan lady.
yeah, that is, so it's like, but it is kind of
Yeah.
white. But then again, that being said,
But they are all one family.
But they're also not related, really.
they're
They're
not
just like
related.
random people that happen to live there.
Well, no, not necessarily. I think a lot
Well,
of
he's
them are...
adopted.
No,
He's
but a lot
adopted.
of them are her relatives or his parents. Something I don't
Right.
know. I that scene went by really fast, but
Yeah, there's
I
a lot
would-
going on in that
there's
scene.
like her brother and then like her brother's. I don't know what.
Well, I know for sure, like, the twins that were, like, the doorbell people, they were not related to anyone. Like, we don't know why they're here, but they're just here.
Right.
Oh,
They're
okay.
like neighbors or something. Or, virgin births.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, no, I mean, the family's cool. It's a sweet family. They're a nice family. They're pretty
Mhm.
cool with each other. My family's always been a big fan of the Swiss Family Robinson because they like beat up pirates.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
no, I mean they're cool. I would chill with these guys
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah. They have a great house.
They
So.
do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, yeah, the movie's called Meet the Robinsons, and, like, a good portion is actually just meeting them, so, I wasn't, like, disappointed, I guess.
Yes.
It wasn't misled.
We didn't meet any Robinsons at all.
One Robinson. So, for those who maybe are not aware, this movie is about a kid named Lewis, and the description says, Lewis is a brilliant inventor who meets a mysterious stranger named Wilbur Robinson, whisking Lewis away in a time machine, and together they team up to track down Bowler Hat Guy in a showdown that ends with an unexpected twist of fate.
Oh.
I mean, unexpected. Every single twist was kind of
Yeah.
pretty obvious.
Unexpected maybe if you're like
5.
Yeah.
8 years old and I've never seen a movie before,
The
but
target audience of this film,
Yeah.
most likely.
Yeah.
for
It is a G-rated film.
it is. For a bit I was like, they have this whole thing where he's like, oh, they'll notice you because you have blonde hair or something, and I was like, what happened to all the blonde-haired people in the future? Like, I didn't understand. And then I obviously caught on, but
I will
I thought that was
say this will be my chance because like now I can talk about Mass Effect, which I always take
sure,
a chance to do.
sure.
And Mass Effect is a whole thing. How in the future having red or blonde hair is extremely rare. Blonde hair especially because basically there has been so much like intermingling of different ethnicities and hair colors that it is super hard to end up with either blonde hair or blue eyes, either one of the two. So it becomes like super rare.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, because aren't they, like, defects in our genetics
They
or something
are.
like that?
Yeah, if you have blue eyes, you technically don't have any eye color. You're just reflecting the light around you.
Ooh.
And if you have blonde hair, it's because like a genome did not form correctly.
Ooh.
So, who knows?
Interesting.
Right?
I liked that.
Touched on some Aryan territory here.
Some
Yeah.
Aryan territory. Yes, I did. Unexpected Aryan territory. Diversity!
Yeah.
Anyway, I like that bowler hat guy never actually got a name.
Right.
I thought that was
Well,
pretty funny.
yeah. I mean, obviously, he becomes Goob, but yeah,
Yeah, but like
He's just
throughout
bowler
the
hat
movie,
guy.
he's bowler hat guy.
yeah, that was pretty funny.
Right.
Yeah, but it's also, you're right though, it's because he is this whole thing where he ends up being Lewis's childhood friend from the orphanage. So like, there actually is a lot to talk about. I was surprisingly impressed with how many things we could discuss in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I
was nice.
had no idea what to expect, honestly. I just
Yeah,
know there's a
same.
T-Rex in the poster, and that's about it.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. You never seen
Yeah.
it, so
I've never seen it. I've seen like bits and pieces on TV,
Okay.
but I've never
I've
watched
seen-
it all the way through.
There's a clip, the woman who ends up becoming his mom from the science fair.
Mhm.
I don't remember her name, but she. There's a clip that I've seen just from like pop culture and like Doctor Who, when she's like, "Is that a bow tie? I love bow ties. I haven't slept in 7 days." Oh, you know, whatever. And like that particular little bit is like a Doctor Who. I mean, it's not actually a Doctor Who nod, maybe, but probably not. And
Well, yeah, 2007. I mean,
2007.
yeah.
That would be too early
So
for
maybe
Matt Smith. But
maybe Doctor Who,
yeah,
because Meet the Robinsons did start the T-Rex doesn't have long enough arms jokes.
that's true. But anyway, so it's like a funny. That made me laugh out loud just because I've like now seeing it in the actual context when like I've only just seen it in like
As a
Doctor
meme.
Who fan meme. Yeah. And then of course the T-Rex and the I have a big head.
Yeah,
and
Like
little
little arms, and I can't reach.
It's really funny. Still funny. 10 years later, I still found it funny. Okay, so none of us have ever seen it before. Initial
Oh my gosh, that's
thoughts.
10 years ago.
More than.
Holy
Yeah,
scrimmage.
almost 11.
Initial
Yeah,
thoughts.
I mean, you know, it was a kids movie for sure.
Yeah.
Some of the jokes are kind of like LOL, random humor, that whole shtick. But you know, it was cute enough, and it had some moments that were, you know, kind of funny. Like they had like some martial arts lip sync
Mhm.
dinner fight that was like, oh yeah, that's like a little bit that they just wanted to do, I guess, and you know, kind of had fun with it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it more than I thought I would, actually. It was fun. It was fairly predictable, you know, but it was cute. It was fun for what it was.
Yeah, I did not dislike this film, and I was expecting to dislike it because I remember when I saw the trailers for Meet the Robinsons, as like I guess I was in high school at the time. I was like, eh, but now it's like I can appreciate what it is,
Yeah.
and it's got a lot more thought into it than I thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
So you know,
I agree. Okay, so let's watch the trailer and then we'll get into the movie.
Everyone on this planet has a dream. The question is how far you're willing to go to make it come true. Take Lewis, for example.
All right, Lewis, knock him dead. That was a figure of speech. Please don't kill anyone.
All his life, Lewis's dream was to find the family he never knew.
I know they're out there.
But the funny thing about chasing dreams is that no one can do it on their own.
What are you doing up here?
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
And the journey will always take you places you never imagined.
What is this? Where are we going?
To the future!
This spring, the first visitor to the future
Wow.
will discover a strange new world and a family
Lewis, meet the Robinsons.
that's even stranger.
Why is your dog wearing glasses?
Oh, because his insurance won't pay for contacts.
Frogs?
Genetically enhanced frogs.
And his only way home
I have to find my family.
We'll help you, kid.
is about to be stolen by a guy who gives evil a bad name.
What the? You are now under my control.
I am now under your control.
Don't repeat everything I
I
say.
won't repeat everything you say.
This may be harder than I thought.
From Walt Disney Pictures,
If I had a family, I'd want them to be just like you.
You have to go back to your own time.
when it comes to adventure,
Dude, I can't take you seriously in that hat.
when it comes to family,
I think my wife Lucille's baking cookies. Bake them cookies, Lucille!
when it comes to comedy,
I've got the caffeine patch. You can stay awake for days with no side effects. Ah! Sorry.
there's no time like the future.
Now my slave, seize the boy. Why aren't you seizing the boy?
Meet the Robinsons.
Get it off! Get it off!
That catchphrase at the end was "Have the time travel of your life."
Yeah.
Couple notes on that trailer.
Yeah.
Was that Morgan Freeman in the beginning?
I do not know. I've been wondering that forever, and I don't know if there's any way to tell. It's weird though that they have this like very somber, very like Morgan Freeman type voice, and then it goes to like this summer, like this spring. And you're
That's
like,
the Disney
It's
movie
a
guy.
huge shift.
you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
weird. Lewis never fit in, but this summer he goes to the future.
Yeah.
That's literally what that trailer just was.
It's almost like they couldn't afford to have Morgan Freeman for the whole trailer, so they only got him for like, we can get him for 15 seconds. All right, let's
Done.
use this well.
Worth it. I love Caffeine Patch Lady. She just makes me laugh. She really does. It's hilarious. There's a lot of dad jokes, I felt like, in this movie. Like,
I mean,
jokes,
yeah, the
not
grandpa
even like
or whatever.
not even like jokes that dads would tell, but jokes that dads would laugh at.
Right.
Like the dog and the glasses. I was
It's
like,
true.
oh, I mean, like, yeah, that's a joke that's like meant for adults because kids wouldn't understand.
Yeah, but
it's
also-
still not that funny.
But also, wasn't there a hi-hat in the movie after he said it? Like, it was like, obviously this is a dumb joke, and they're like, "Dooch."
Yeah, but like
Right.
kids don't really understand
Okay.
insurance.
Yeah.
It's true.
You know?
It is like one of those things
It's-
like, hey.
It's like, I know it's a joke. It's like, okay, huh?
That's every
Whatever.
father's dream to
Yeah.
make dad jokes. And then they let a dad loose from his cage and they said, just write this script.
Yeah.
And he was like, finally!
But,
I get to write dad jokes.
But the grandpa was funny. He was one
He
of my
was funny.
favorite characters as well. I liked it. So, okay, let's talk about the time travel and then we'll talk about timelines and such.
Ooh, this is going to be a fun one with
It is.
timelines.
It is. Let's talk about the time travel first and get that out of the way. So Lewis is an inventor and
An orphan. And an orphan.
orphan
That's
inventor.
important.
He's like
He's trying to find his mom.
He's like Batman, but if Batman was more sciencey,
Right.
sort of a thing, and not rich. So and doesn't like action. So okay, he's not like Batman, but he's an orphan who invents.
He's also not.
gadgets.
He's not rich, but he's smart.
Very
Yeah,
smart.
there
Very
we go.
resourceful.
Okay.
Also kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
He is a little dangerous. He doesn't know his limits, especially as a kid, which, But this is where it's going to get confusing, but in the future, there's a time machine. Technically, there's two time machines.
Yeah. Apparently, what's his name when he grows older? Like,
Lewis.
Lewis.
yeah. No, what's his older name? What's like the
Oh,
name? That,
Cornelius.
Cornelius. Apparently, we're told that one day Cornelius woke up and he just woke up with the idea to make a time machine, and he made it, and then he only made two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all we really get for the explanation of how he created it.
Yeah, so he made it and then he made a duplicate just in case or something like that, I think they said. But I guess I get maybe not wanting to mass produce something like that.
Right. I mean, what it was, what movie showed us like that? We can't. A primer showed us you shouldn't really mass produce time travel.
Yeah,
It's not a good idea.
That's a good example.
It's not a good idea at all.
Literally any movie, it's if everyone has time travel, it's never a good idea.
Right. I mean, he does claim to be a time cop when he comes to the what's his face.
That's true. I was
Um,
wondering if that was a time cop reference.
I feel like
I mean,
it had to.
yeah, he does. Lewis does call him a time cop, and a joke after he realized he wasn't actually a time cop. He's like, "Hey, you're the time cop here." He was joking around about it.
It felt oh, time cop, that's a time travel movie. Let's make a joke about that.
Yeah.
And, threw it in.
With his
kind of thing.
tanning salon badge.
Yeah.
So as you were saying, we don't know how he got the idea for the time machine. It's kind of a paradox a little bit, because you could say that, like, he maybe remembered the blueprints from when he went to the future when he was a kid and woke up from a dream remembering what they were.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's a paradox because he remembers himself doing it, and so there's never actually the conception of it. Or it's just a dream and it's a kid's movie and no one cares.
I mean, yeah, there really is. There wasn't a moment where we're like led to believe that he created time travel because he fixed it as like in the future as a kid. So like in some movies they kind of hint towards like, oh, see, this is how it happened. Nudge, nudge.
Well, he did fix it.
Yeah, and I know, but they didn't show it as a way. They didn't.
Right.
It wasn't portrayed as if like, here's how he did it. Like, you know, with the little musical cue or whatever. It was just like he had to fix it because he needed to, so he did it.
Right.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't a kids movie, maybe it would have. But something like that is, we're analyzing it because that's what we're doing, but kids wouldn't think about that.
For the target group they're probably aiming this for, this is probably going to be one of the first time travel movies they've ever seen.
Definitely.
Some kids probably saw this before they saw Back to the Future, because Back to the Future, for like ages 6 to 8 wouldn't be appropriate, nor would they enjoy it really.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is one of their first exposures to it.
Yeah, they didn't seem to make any moments that were like time travel caused the effects that we saw earlier. It was just like, the future's a certain way, here's how the future got up that way, and they have to like fix it or else it'll be this other way, and then they fix it, and then now we're back in the past.
Yeah, the timelines in this movie are a little bit confusing to kind of dive into, but we will. So, there's multiple timelines?
No, I mean, there's one future that's in flux.
Okay.
And it changes around Lewis.
Around Lewis's present.
Yeah, his present mind or whatever, depending on where he is.
Yeah.
It's like we only see a change after Bowler Hat Guy succeeded in changing the past, and then as Lewis is like learning the truth or whatever, he like watches a video of it. He then his like present day, quote unquote, which is the future that we're watching now, it has changed around him, which. So like he's in the family house mansion or whatever, and then it changes around him. Then he's in like Bowler Hat. He's in Doris's factory or whatever. He ends up there, like while he's watching this video, which also has the time machine right next to it, which is the dumbest thing. Like, Doris, you have the world under control. Don't leave the time machine next to the kid.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? I mean, obviously it's a kid movie, but like
come on,
dumbest bad guy moves ever.
So I know I know the timeline revolves around Lewis's present, but in the end, his solution is, I'm never going to invent Doris, the hat. And so then everything disappears and is fine. So then doesn't that, like, negate everything that happened if it never happened in the first place?
Not necessarily, because Doris was never good. Like, Doris was something that he felt was, like, a failed invention anyway as a kid. Like, he didn't really...
Right, but I mean, like, as a kid, a grown-up version of him still invents it and just like puts it away.
Right.
He, as a kid, never invents it in the first place at all.
True.
Yeah, that's like the twist.
So if it never exists, none of those actions happen. So technically, it should be a different future, right?
Well, okay. So the way that the timelines work is that like things can change, and once they're changed, then they are changed. It's like, you know, there isn't really like the fact that he doesn't invent Doris doesn't mean that the whole movie is going to be different now. It's just like, up until that point, Doris has existed, and then they won't, so the future is back to normal.
But he doesn't invent Doris until the future.
Yeah, I know.
But it wouldn't affect everything that happened.
Well, Doris was the reason why things changed.
Yeah.
It was her plan to, like, change things.
Right.
So then, without that...
Bowler Hat Guy wouldn't have anything to do. He wouldn't know to take the time machine.
Okay. Yeah.
So like, Doris is the true villain here. Bowler Hat Guy is just some idiot.
Yeah, he's just a disgruntled friend.
So then, in that timeline, young Lewis never goes to the future, right?
Yes, he never goes to the future.
Yeah. So
but that wouldn't change anything anyway, because technically the family he has, everything that happened was going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
And the only person whose future really gets drastically changed is Bowler Hat Guy's.
Yeah.
Who, because he ends up like being happy, getting married, having kids.
Yeah. So there's I would say then two different like crucial points in Lewis's timeline and then in Goop's timeline. Goop's when he falls asleep at the game versus when he catches the ball at the game, I
Right.
think changes the course of his timeline. And then Lewis succeeding at the science fair.
Right.
No, well, he always
Right?
failed. He always failed the science fair, but he
But then going back.
Yeah,
again
he went
doing
back
it.
and was
if he
like,
didn't
"Here
go,
you go."
and that's what I'm saying. If he didn't
Yeah.
go back, he wouldn't meet those people who ended up becoming his parents,
Yeah.
and he wouldn't meet the girl who ends up becoming his wife, etc., etc.
right.
So that's the
Very
thing,
important
like,
science fair. Very important weekend.
I mean, Wilbur knows. Wilbur's like, go to the science fair, bro.
Yeah,
Dad.
it's like I mean, yeah, it's like yeah, you're right. The future is kind of weird because after he stops Doris, he takes Goob back to live with whatever the Robinsons.
Mhm.
But then that's a future that's also going to change because once he goes back and Doris has been defeated, then Doris will never be around to never bring the T-Rex, to never have Goob be there. So it's like that future that we see briefly
But Goob,
isn't.
Goob only becomes evil because the older version of him, like, convinces him to take that path. And so if he's never, like, set on this path to try and destroy Lewis, he never makes the younger version of himself become evil in the first place.
Right.
So he never is evil. And because he caught the ball at the game, his life is happier than it was
Right.
what we saw.
Lesson learned, children. Do well in sports. Your life will be fine.
But, like, don't fall asleep at a baseball game. You could get hit in the head.
It's true.
Like, what
It's
are you
very
doing?
important.
It's really
Head safety.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Is there more stuff with the timeline that we need to talk about?
I mean,
Kinda.
there's a time wave of
There's
bubbles,
another time wave.
more time waves.
Time waves.
It's
We'd
one
like
of
watch
those-
it change the
I,
future as bubbles would surround stuff. Lots of bubbles in this movie.
there's a lot of bubbles in this movie.
It's probably like they had the animation engine to do bubbles, and they're like, "Let's do it." That's probably what happened.
They're practice for Moana when they were like,
Right.
eventually we're gonna have to do water, so let's start with bubbles and then build our way up there.
That
No,
that
but
might
Moana
have
is
actually
Pixar,
it
so.
might have this is when Pixar
Oh,
took over
yeah,
Disney. This
that's
is the
true.
first thing they did.
Yeah.
So that's actually not a crazy idea. Do you know why Congo chose to have puppet gorillas? Is because they could not.
Congo?
That movie with
Yeah.
Tim Curry,
With
Oh.
monkeys and lasers.
right? Monkeys, literally lasers and diamonds.
Yeah.
I've never heard
It's
of it.
literally done because they could not use 3D to make fur look realistic.
Wow.
Yeah,
So I might not be far off.
yeah, you may not be far off. They might have really been thinking about this.
So what else did you want to talk about for the timeline?
Well, okay, it's not so much the timeline, just more of the implications of the timeline.
Okay.
So, according to this, Lewis has pretty much designed almost the entire future,
Yeah.
which means like the buildings, everything. This is beyond Google, Apple. He's figured out how to not only modify animals, he's learned how to modify animals so that they can not only communicate, but they also don't need water, or they can live like outside of their natural habitat. Yet they still kind of need the same stuff that they've always needed. It's like, think about the implications of this one man. Like, could you imagine if Tim Cook came out tomorrow of Apple and was just like, "Yo, I genetically modified frogs, and now they can talk to you."
Well, he didn't do the frog. She did.
That's right. Nicole Sullivan did the frog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicole Sullivan's voice.
Frankie, yeah.
Yeah. Because that was like her thing as a kid was like,
Genetically modifying animals.
but, the dog and the glasses is still a thing. And, like, the buildings and, like, traveling through bubble is insane.
Really dangerous because
It's
like
very
it's not-
fickle.
Right?
The bubbles aren't very sturdy.
And, like, when they get to their destination, there's,
It's
like,
just
a
pop.
giant finger that pops the bubble. So I'm like, you could just pop your own bubble and, like, suicide rates would just skyrocket.
or accidental deaths.
Yeah,
Or
accidental
accidental
death.
death. But I mean, like,
Suicide
if
rates
you were,
and sky-
if you were like, going to
accidental
commit suicide, like, well, suicide by a bubble.
death. Suicide by bubble.
Like,
Yeah.
what,
The dark side of the Mr. Robinsons they don't want you to know about. That's
Yeah.
like a new YouTube video.
But also like the time travel machine, when it flies away, a bubble covers it and it like flies off and it zaps itself to the future. Like a bubble isn't enough to get you to the future or
No.
the past. Like
It needs, like, an engine behind it or
Yeah.
something. Like, it's a magic bubble that
I think you
has
guys-
knowledge. It
I
has
think you
to.
guys are really underestimating the power of bubbles right now.
Fair enough. There's also a lot of transportation through tubes is a thing, which I'm like, that's like my worst nightmare as someone who has heavy motion sickness. Like, no, I do not want to, like, travel upwards through a bubble, or through a tube of nothing, and, oh my god,
do
no,
not be
it's like,
claustrophobic.
Yeah,
it's
pneumatic
like the
tubes.
whole world is Tower of Terror.
The whole world is Tower of Terror. I mean, I guess so. I mean, but it's like, but this is also like anti-Wall-E future. Like, everyone has to be in shape because you can't be too heavy when you're in that bubble, or get with tubes.
Except
for that one guy, the one Robinson.
The one with the toast. Who
Oh,
needed
he
his
was, like,
PBJ.
crying.
But he, I mean, but is he ever going to be able to tube travel? I mean,
No. He had like a floating chair, I think, or something.
Ah.
He was in some, maybe he was just in a chair.
There will always be that dude. Like,
I didn't get the whole, one of the guys in the house with the puppet wife was weird and creepy.
yeah, it seems like a precursor to that admittedly funny, but also creepy DirecTV puppet marionette commercial where the man is married to a marionette puppet. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, gosh. Guys, if you're watching this right now, pause the podcast if you're not driving and watch DirecTV Man Married to Marionette. You will laugh your butt off.
Oh my god.
Because it's kind of messed up, but it's also so funny, you just totally push back how messed up it is.
It's so creepy just like thinking about the relationship that must go on in those. I just, ugh, gross. So there's the interesting thing is like
my mind went somewhere horrible.
Mine too. The interesting thing is all of these family members, they're all kind of like messed up sort of people.
Yeah.
Like they're not normal for sure, which I guess is kind of the point.
Right. Everyone
But
can be family.
I want to talk about the Benjamin Button relationship to this movie, and two, I want to talk about the like 130 families that saw him and didn't want him, because that, I mean, I am not an orphan, so I'm not trying to like if you're an orphan and you're listening to this, one, that's like a really small niche, and like please send us something on Twitter, because that would be crazy if I like called out to you and there's like one person who's actually listening. But my point is, out of 124 families, like, don't you just, the odds though of that, of like
not being like,
how
no.
evil are all of these people, and like also we only ever see Goop and Lewis in this orphanage, by the way. And that's weird to me. Like, where are all the other kids? Like, okay, it seems strange how it works, because they, like, call Angela Bassett, and they're not literally Angela Bassett, but her
voice.
Her character.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Angela Bassett.
Hey, Angela Bassett.
Can I talk?
I'm here.
The
But they
disembodied voice.
specifically pick a certain child, but isn't it like, oh, maybe this one's a better fit, maybe that one's a, whatever.
Right.
I don't know, I just don't get it.
That's not how U.S. adoption works.
Right.
One, first of all, U.S. adoption is one of the hardest countries to adopt a kid. So, I mean, if a family got to that point with Lewis, more than likely they would adopt him.
Yeah. And
Yeah, it's like cold calling. It's like, here's the first time you meet this kid. Do you want him?
No,
Like in person.
125 people said no. Like, that's insane to me.
It is weird, because the whole like orphan thing, like he wants to find his mom or his family, whatever. But he's already going to school. He already is a genius. He already has college level courses.
Yeah,
he has like. Why do you want a family? Like I thought it'd been a moment where he'd be like, "Oh, Angela Bassett's my mom. She like loves me and cared for me my entire life, and she wants the best of me." Nope.
Yeah.
Forget about her. Find this other woman you don't know, or find a family that doesn't want you. It's like a.
It's a strange dynamic, and I understand that the purpose of it though is to make the Robinsons more appealing for him, because they're like him or whatever, and
Right.
he fits in there. But I think maybe don't give it such a high number of like, these are how many, like, it makes it kind of really dark.
It is. There's actually a couple kind of dark moments in the script. I do like the idea that he goes back and he decides he doesn't want to get his mom back because she didn't want him. And it's kind of like, it's not one of those moments where it's like, oh, now everything's better. It's like, no, like my mom, she didn't, there was a reason she didn't want me, and this is how it is. I thought that was a very mature message to have, instead of, he goes back and all of a sudden the mom's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're grown up. Now I love you all of a sudden. Like, or maybe not even love. I don't want to judge the mom. She might have had really good reasons for why she had to do it. But it's just like...
Which is the conversation that Lewis has with Angela Bassett's character.
Right.
On the roof. Where she's like, well, maybe she maybe she couldn't have you at the time, or whatever
Right,
it is.
Yeah.
But I did want to talk about Benjamin.
124 is
124.
It should be like 12.
Yeah, I did want to talk about Benjamin Button just because the beginning of this movie is like the same thing. And at first I was like, what movie am I watching? And it was obviously Benjamin Button is not animated child's film, but it's literally
What?
like the same. Like he's
It
dropped off on it anyway. He ages backwards. This is just kind of he sees himself as older, so it's similar a little bit, right?
Meeting in the middle.
Yeah, thank you. Throw me a bone.
And then he's gonna have sex with Kate Blanchett.
I mean, I haven't seen Benjamin Button, so I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert.
No,
Brad Pitt
well,
has
no,
sex with Kate
no,
Blanchett.
I mean, I
And
don't
he ages
care.
backwards.
But I'm saying I can't help you because I've never seen Benjamin Button, so.
Okay. It's in the beginning of the movie. He's like baby, but he's actually a feeble old man who's brought on a doorstep. And
Yeah,
a
I know the basic concept.
black woman adopts him anyway. So
Yeah.
Taraji P. Henson,
Taraji
Academy
P.
Award
Henson.
nominee.
Thank you. So when Lewis goes to the future, it looks similar to Tomorrowland, Disney World.
And they call it Todayland.
They call it Todayland
Because what?
Because it's the future. So it's like instead of it being like
Yeah, it's
the
the joke.
future tomorrow, it's the
Today.
present today.
Oh, I mean, I got the joke, and
Okay.
I could totally tell this was Disney setting everyone up for
Oh.
like, we're gonna do a Tomorrowland movie eventually that no one's gonna like, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah, even before they showed the sign of Todayland, I was like, wow, this looks a lot like what they wanted that Tomorrowland movie to look like. And yeah, and so then
Pretty much.
it made sense.
This it's almost kind of like eerily sad because you can
Yeah.
tell they really wanted Tomorrowland to be a hit when you watch this scene.
I think we all wanted Tomorrowland to be a hit, honestly.
That's true.
That's the point, man. When you go to
Boy,
Tomorrowland,
Was it not a hit?
it's not what you expected, man. It's actually sad in there.
That's also accurate. So
All thanks to Hugh Laurie.
yeah, well, the consequences of the time travel in this film are extreme. It ends up being a dystopian future.
Yeah,
run
once
by hats.
once the past has changed, like what's his face, the kid Drake,
Lewis.
No, the
Wilbur.
Wilbur. I don't know. I don't know his name. I had a hard time with names in this movie. But yeah, so like Wilbur, he like vanishes right in front of Lewis's eyes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He like gets sucked up into a vortex, and like we like see stuff change
It's
around
dark.
Lewis.
Yeah, and especially once you know. I mean, Lewis at the time didn't know that Wilbur was his son yet, but like if he knew at the time, that would be scarring.
That would
Yeah.
be horrific.
Could you imagine?
Not to mention the movie pretty much says that like these hats and clones will kill the human race.
Yeah, they like suffocate them to death almost. They like squeeze their head and then they explode or whatever happens. I don't know. We didn't really see people dying. 'Cause
You don't
it's a
see
kids movie,
it is a
but-
kids movie, but it is very heavily implied that they die
Yeah.
eventually because of this invention.
Yeah, or they're like mind-controlled zombies kind of a thing, like the Robinson family was. Like it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Buildings were just giant hats,
Yes.
which is funny.
Yep, that's Dorish's vision of the future.
Yeah, hey,
Hats for everyone.
do what you gotta do. I would say though, it's not. Well, I guess technically it is a consequence of time travel, but it's not a consequence of Lewis time traveling. It's a consequence of Doris
Right.
using time travel.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, which is a little bit different than what we usually see, because usually the consequence is the main character went to the future, went to the past, etc.,
Right.
and bad things happen because they did something, whatever. But in this case, he time traveled to try and fix it, so that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, the movie, even though it's weird, the movie's predictable,
Yeah.
but I don't want to say it's cliche.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I'd agree with you.
There's a lot of tropes they follow, but it's not cliche either at the same time.
Yeah. You can kind of see what's coming next, but it's still enjoyable enough to watch.
Mhm.
Like, you can, once you kind of, I thought the Tom Selleck joke was pretty funny, but
Yeah,
once
that
you,
was-
like,
that was
kind
pretty
of
good.
get, once you get sort of what's going on a little bit after you meet the Robinsons, you're like, oh, okay, he's the inventor, he's the dad, this
Right.
is what's going on, this is the future. Yeah, but it's still, getting there is cool. And I do want to talk about the fact that older Lewis and younger Lewis can touch, can interact, can see each other, and it does not affect the space-time continuum.
Yeah, I know. Or cause some like weird time cop gooey combination of the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
So he doesn't start fading out and then like disappear from existence.
Yeah.
You know.
But it was...
And no one seemed to care that, like, Cornelius was showing Lewis everything, like, here's what you're gonna do later on in your future.
Well, so here's...
Showing him all his inventions and stuff.
Yeah, true.
So I'm glad you brought that up, though, because here is what I was gonna ask, is that particular version that we see of older Lewis, is that someone who also went through these actions?
I don't think so. Because we're not led to believe that.
Right, it's true.
Yeah. Okay, because it's confusing how they kind of do that, because obviously Lewis ends up not, changing the future, but I wasn't sure if that version of him,
I think
remembered these conversations or
I think
these actions.
I think the original timeline is like, obviously Doris wasn't there to sabotage his science fair thing, so he normally would have succeeded. I guess he would have, in that moment, he would have seen his mom because he was going to try to use it on himself. But either way, he would have been like, oh, it succeeded. And then he would have, like, gotten Inventco, and he would have, like, yeah.
So a lot of things just didn't necessarily happen in the same time. Like, he would see his mom at the science fair versus, like, going back in time to see her.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe he still did. I don't know. But, okay.
But yeah, and so I guess in the original timeline, he still would have been adopted by the science fair lady because they liked his invention, I guess.
Yeah. I guess so.
Like, the only reason why we see it now in the new timeline is, like, he sees that, that's actually the people that he saw in the future as his parents, adopted parents. But originally, they just liked him and wanted to adopt him, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie doesn't seem to play by the rules of, like, butterfly effect ripples. Like, they have to make a really conscious decision. I mean, like, stuff happens and it causes consequences, but it's not, like, so much to the extreme of, you went left instead of right, so now we have baboon raptors.
Yeah.
Like
it's more like in Days of Future Past in X-Men when Beast is talking about the ripples in the river and how, like, you can throw a rock in it and maybe it'll create some waves and things will be a little bit different, but the course of the river will still flow in the same direction.
Right.
Unless it's like a giant boulder. And
True.
so, yeah.
You literally have to keep Goob from getting his butt kicked by some very angry kids to keep him from becoming, like, a bitter person.
Do they go to the same school?
I believe so.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I mean, it seemed like it because he was close to where the science fair was when he helped him, but they weren't, like, friends. It didn't seem like they were friends at school, during school or anything. But maybe Goop is just younger than him, so I don't know.
Yeah,
thank goodness they live in L.A., because otherwise that baseball game would not be anywhere close to...
That's true. Yeah.
It's in Long Beach. What? But your league is in Pasadena. What is happening?
Well, I gotta pick and choose. You can't do both. So, we can't really talk about scientific accuracy because we don't know any. Time travel dreams.
Bubbles and magic.
Could a bubble protect you from a wormhole disruption? I
want
to know.
That's a question.
No.
Why not?
Because the energy would pop the bubble.
Darn it.
What?
It seems just like bubbles aren't a good idea.
So what could you travel in a wormhole that wouldn't pop?
What?
What could you travel in if it wasn't a bubble?
I mean, you would need... Well, like, a wormhole would require a bunch of energy, and so, like, radiation would kill you, first of all. So, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think you're asking the right question.
So, lead-lined fridge. I'd be okay.
Like, if there's a wormhole...
With a, like, engine, like a speedboat engine.
Yeah. No, one of those fans, the fan boats.
Oh my god.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I mean, like if there's a wormhole and you're in a bubble, it's gonna pop because, like, I don't know, energy and stuff.
Radiation.
It's also a freaking
like,
bubble.
even if my favorite thing to think about picturing bubble travel, even not even just in a wormhole, but just like through the city, is like, what if it snows or hail?
Yeah.
If it snows and the bubble freezes, what if it just starts to rain and the rain is hard enough that it pops the bubble? What if it just gets windy and it blows you into a building? Like, in what way did someone think this through well enough?
And also, like, if you're in a bubble, you're standing on the inside of the bubble. Wouldn't your feet pop the bubble too? I mean, like...
Maybe
what if you have pointy shoes on?
Oh, God. Oh no, my stilettos! I have so many questions about bubble travel. I want to see the pitch for how bubble travel was pitched.
In
Like,
the
you know,
future.
like, I just want, Matt, imagine you're an executive of, like, a major company that you have, like, imagine you work for, like, one of Elon Musk's company. We'll call this one Bubble because he names everything off for, like, what that one company does.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or Soap Dish, because those make bubbles. And he's
Sure.
sitting there, and it's like, oh, well, you're the guy, Matt. You're the guy who has to prove it. And I
Yeah.
walk in, I'm like, yo, have you ever been, like, standing on the roof of another building and be like, I wish I could get to the other roof for, you know, some tacos? And then you're like, but dang it, now I gotta go all the way down into my car, and then I gotta pay for parking at the taco place. No more bubble travel.
Enter this bubble
And it's free.
and maybe get to where you want to go
Right, and
without
then-
falling to your death.
How long do you think you can travel? Like, what's the distance and time that you can travel in a bubble? Because it's not like there's air circulating in the bubble. You only have the bubble amount of air.
I'll say like
Yeah.
a mile. You can go on like a mile.
Well, I mean, it also depends on like the bubble because like you've seen some bubbles can last pretty long. Like they have like some people can make bubbles that like last longer.
But if you're
Yeah.
breathing the air that's
Yeah.
inside the bubble already, that'll make it pop even more. Even just breathing out will probably make the
Get
bubble
the carbon
pop.
monoxide poisoning.
It's also like liquid has to. It's like it's fuel. So like if it dries up, it'll pop. You know. So like you have to.
Can't have it in the desert then.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It cannot happen in an arid climate.
If people are only traveling by bubble, wouldn't they get fat because they're never walking around, they're never exercising?
And they can't get to the tube.
Bubbles to tube travel.
It's like, just walk. Like the lady that we see, I think it's in the trailer, the lady that we see who goes from like one building to like the building on the exact same block.
Right.
That's like, if you walked outside, that would be like maybe 10 steps.
Yeah.
But like, if your bubble popped, you would just die.
That's it.
You would fall 50 stories to the ground and like, why is that worth it? Laziness.
And
It's like Wall-E.
I also imagine she like traveled up to where the bubble was,
Right.
across the other building, then tubed down. So just like stay down and just
Yeah.
have a tube go straight across the ground.
Yeah. Just everything by tube makes more sense than bubble travel. Anyway, we don't need to be caught up on all the
Well,
bubbles.
no,
But-
I think the riders deserve to have their bubble tube transportation. Like no one else
Say
is.
we popped their
No.
bubble.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm here all day.
you're wrecked.
Okay. Relevance to the story. Oh yeah, we have a time travel podcast. Let's get back on bubble time. Can we have a side podcast called Bubble Time?
Yeah, it'll
Bubble
be 2
time.
episodes.
Just once.
We'll talk about Bubble Boy with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh god, I hate that movie so much. So much. Like like I don't know. It's irrational. The loathing I have for that movie for literally no reason, just the fact that it's of what it is.
Well, we
He's
got
like
that
a bubble boy.
and Wizard of Oz. Only other movies I can think of where
Yeah.
people travel by bubble.
Could we not do that Seinfeld episode?
Yeah, Bubble
Oh,
Boy.
true.
Yeah.
Man,
Moops.
we can have at least a
not-
5-episode
This is not
podcast.
exciting. You bring this back again. We could just
Yeah.
talk talk about bubbles for an hour. People won't get mad at us. We're gonna talk about the time travel.
There could be a special episode about gum and all the bubbles therein.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Wow.
Someone out there is going to make this podcast. Probably
Bubble
not
time.
us.
We would like to guest on it though. If that makes sense.
Please, you owe us.
Yeah.
Finder's fee.
Yeah. Okay.
The
So
relevance of the story.
relevance to the story.
I don't think. Well, I mean,
The
the
time.
travel is very.
Yeah.
relevant.
It is relevant.
I guess, but it's like I don't know. Stuff happens because of it, but it isn't like
It's not the most relevant that we've
Yeah.
seen for sure, but it does. They do travel in a time machine, which is
A few
always
times,
nice.
yeah.
We don't always see time machines. I feel like we haven't seen an actual time machine in a while, so that was kind of nice. But that's also because we just did a bunch of time loop movies. But that was nice. But you're right; they do just like they go to the future and then they go back to the past and then they go farther.
yeah,
back.
and like stuff changes around them because of time travel. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the point of the movie is to meet the family, so that's kind of
Right, and I mean, to be honest, had it not been for all this like time travel trickery that takes place, if there been no time travel inserted into the story, everything would still turned out okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like in theory, technically, but
yeah.
But of course,
Yeah. So, clothes and sets. I appreciated that not everyone dressed in a tacky futuristic clothing.
mm-hmm.
That was nice.
Yeah, they're not all like wearing spacesuits. Like fashion
They're not
just
all wearing,
deteriorated in the future.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Adam
Silver.
West is, but he's like a superhero in the well, food delivery, but like
Yeah.
he's like he's eccentric.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No,
Yeah. It's more like personal style. It's not like everyone in the future wears silver pleather. It's like, why?
favorite future past fashion.
Like, why? What was that Adam Sandler movie we did? That's what
Click.
it always.
Oh, yeah,
That's
Click,
what it
yeah.
always makes me think of.
Lights on bunny dresses.
You're what?
Lights on bunny dresses.
Lights on money dresses. Yeah. Would you want to experience this time travel?
Sure.
Yeah, I say okay.
Yeah, flying car.
Really not that bad. I mean, you know, if you're not the one inventing Doris, nothing bad really happens.
Like,
No consequences
yeah,
to it.
if you get a flying car that takes you to the future and nothing bad will happen to you, then you go back at the past and you're present day and you're fine.
I do think you have to be careful with disrupting time, depending on where you go, but seems like things will adjust around you, so just don't make it a boulder.
Yeah,
Make it
make
a-
it a boulder.
Make
Just
it a
like
little
pebble.
rock.
Just
Yeah,
a little pebble.
You can pluck a T-Rex out of the past and not have any big ripples, so that's,
That's
Yeah.
true. The plants-
Sound of Thunder would be...
It's like the prequel of Jurassic Park.
and no cockroaches are gonna come and like eat your neighbors.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you do change prehistoric times.
Yeah.
'Cause, it's. I mean, even though I'd actually, if someone like gave me the option of, do you want to meet your future family? Even though the curiosity would be very intense, I also would be like, that could totally screw it up.
Yeah.
But in this universe, it doesn't seem to affect anything. So if that's the case,
Mhm.
I would totally go and then meet my future family and be like, yo, what's up? Oh no, one of my kids wants to become a rapper. I better make sure that doesn't happen.
I mean, it's like Marty McFly in Back to the Future too. It's like he sees his
Your
family.
kids, Marty, your
and-
kids.
The kids, we gotta go.
Something's gotta be done about your kids. Man, I think we should just do a redo episode of The Sound of Thunder and just do it again.
Just do it again drunk. We should just do
Yeah.
it, like, all get plastered. And
Let's
then
watch it. We should watch. Actually, that's
And live
actually a
stream.
really funny idea. We should watch it together, get drunk, and then immediately do a podcast on it afterwards.
Robbie has still not seen it. And I
Really?
think he would be a very fun guy. Because he has not seen it. I'm like,
He
dude,
could guest
you
on it.
have to see this.
All right.
Yeah, for the record, I bought it on DVD.
Yeah.
So we now own the Sound of Thunder.
Please listen. You don't even have to watch the movie to listen to our Sound of Thunder episode. But it is more fun if you see the movie because the movie itself is so
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I was like, we need to own this.
Who is it
I
that's
bought
in it?
it.
David Oyelowo?
David
Yeah,
Oyelowo's
yeah,
in
yeah.
it. So is
Classic.
Ben
Ben
Kingsley.
Kingsley.
Yeah.
Edward Burns.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those.
Oh, I
it's one of
love
those
that movie.
movies we've also referenced so many times that
Yeah.
it's kind of worth seeing at least
It's-
once.
For a long time, it was.
Project Almanac.
Thank you. For some reason, I never remember the name of that movie, Project Almanac, and now that's kind of been replaced by Sound of Thunder. So those episodes that we reference all the time, they do tend to get more listens. So if you're out there, you'll want to check that one out if you haven't already. Sound of Thunder. Okay, so any other notes that we haven't talked about that you'd like to bring up? So a lot of these people, they're not shaped proportionally, so I just want to say that as a blanket statement before I say what I'm about to say. But most of the other women are like the science fair lady and the mom and stuff. They're skinny, but they're not like absurd. But there's one character that they have that's the secretary or the whatever when he tries to bring in the invention, and she's like, "You can't go upstairs. You don't have an appointment. Whatever." She's drawn literally like a triangle. Her boobs are gigantic and her waist is the pointy end of the triangle if the triangle is upside down. And then it's it's just insane. They do an unnecessary almost like a
hourglass.
Yeah, but almost like a pants. You can see the proportions of how giant her boobs are compared to her waist. Is why? Why was that? Why did someone say this is how she needs to be drawn in such an absurd way?
Yeah.
Men aren't drawn that way.
The secretary needs to be sexy, so I know. Let's make her, be this way.
I just
Yeah,
don't
but,
understand those
But
actions.
the coach was the male equivalent of that, where he was super super buff and ripped, and he had little tiny short shorts on
That's
and meaty legs. I mean, obviously,
it wasn't as gratuitous.
yeah,
I think, but
yeah, he didn't have a huge bulge.
That's true.
I don't think you do that in a kids movie.
Exactly.
Right, but that's
But they
the
made the
point,
woman
though,
right.
Is
Right. They made the
female
woman
equivalent.
it's fine to make a woman look like literally a sex object she's
Yeah.
what a sex doll would look like, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, sorry if you're a child listening to this, which, like, please
What?
don't, because we are explicit, but, like...
I was like, I
I
hope
love Meet
not.
the Robinsons, I want to listen to that episode. No, sorry. But...
I'm just, what a horrible image in
I
my
was
head.
a terrible babysitter, just in case anyone was wondering.
So if you're a babysitter, put this on for a kid.
Please,
You should have been
abort.
warned.
Abort. No, but do you know?
No, I know exactly. It did. I know what you're saying because like I kind of
Yeah.
forgotten about it, but when you said, it, I was like, yeah, that did kind
It
of
was
strike
just
me.
specifically her. The other women in the movie weren't as bad.
Yeah.
I get
know.
the joke they're trying to make, but they didn't have to do that much of a joke. Like they could have,
Yeah.
because in a movie like this, if you had even gone just like, let's say 10% over
Yeah.
the normal, you would have gotten the idea. Like, oh, okay, she's supposed to be a little bit more curvy
Yeah.
than the rest. It's
Right.
What's a good example?
Any Disney movie ever?
Well, no, I was actually going to say Miss Bellum from Powerpuff Girls. Though that's kind of the joke with Miss Bellum.
Yeah.
So it's Miss Bellum from Powerpuff Girls is curvy, but she's not so much that you're like, oh my gosh,
It's not
like
triangle. Yeah.
I can't. This is like, how does this woman eat?
Right, exactly. It's like that woman's... Anyway, whatever.
Her boobs can burst the bubble.
But it's like...
During bubble travel.
Yeah,
Can't get in the bubble.
Yeah.
My boobs popped the bubble.
You got some
Every time.
You got some 1990s Tomb Raider boobs
Yeah,
right there.
that's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And even her proportions were
Some-
much more realistic.
Yeah,
some
right?
jagged boobs.
Like, but it's kind of a thing that Disney unfortunately does with a lot of their animated female characters. They have tiny waists and, like, not always huge chests, but they do have bigger chests to accentuate the fact that their waists are tiny. And it's a thing, and it's really unfortunate. But
Yeah. I mean, the
You know.
character models in general in this movie were kind of weird.
They were
Yeah.
definitely weird. The main character looks like a friend of ours. So Drake, if you're listening, you look like Lewis, which I'm sure you know. But but it is kind of funny because they are drawn weird, but they also are drawn like normal people for the most part, which I do appreciate. Like they're people who I could see walking down the street. Like they do look more normal than they could have. I mean, obviously not the octopus thing, but you know.
You can't have it all. I mean, you also genetically frogs, and you had a T-Rex
True.
who actually, even though they didn't have long enough arms, was quite limber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you name your T-Rex?
Oh, who named my T-Rex?
Fluffy.
Dr. Ian Malcolm.
That's great. I like
That's
that. I like
good.
that.
Solid choice. Okay, so final reviews, I guess. I don't think I have any other notes. So, Matt, why don't you start?
Sure. For the movie, it was, cute enough. It
Yeah.
had some moments. It was kind of, I don't know, some of it was kind of obviously predictable, as we said.
Mm-hmm.
But, I didn't hate it, so I'll give it a 5.
Okay. I didn't hate it. It was fun enough, but it was predictable, as you said.
Some of the jokes are kind of like, all right.
Yeah, the jokes did fall
They're not
flat.
for
They
me.
weren't like sometimes Disney animated movies have jokes that are for adults, but they are still actually humorous.
Mhm.
They're not just like, oh, I understand that's a joke, I'm laughing on the inside kind of a
Right.
thing, where like this movie was more like jokes for dads to laugh at, as they said in the beginning.
Right.
Versus like jokes for all of us to laugh at. So I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I don't think it was that bad. It's a fun enough movie.
Oh man, perfect actually, because my grade for this was going to be a 5.5. Because I liked it a little more than I disliked it, so
Mhm.
I'm going to give it a 5.5. I do agree with you on that. They never had a line that made me laugh as much as our Kim Possible one, where it's like, I'm an actuary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
exactly. Yeah.
They didn't have any
That was a
lines
solid
like
joke.
that.
Also
But
had Nicole Sullivan, so.
they did have Nicole Sullivan. That's right. She's in 2 voice actors.
Yeah, she's in 2 so far.
Looking for a third. Join the trio club.
Getting excited.
Trilogy.
But no, I mean it's a harmless film for the most part, and it does make some bold decisions with his story, which I appreciate. It takes some risk and doesn't pull some punches in some surprising points, which I liked. The fact that there's a post-apocalyptic world where bowler hats kill people in a G-rated Disney film has to be appreciated to a certain degree.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. Time travel rating?
Time travel, they did stuff with it, so I was surprised that they actually, went to the future, the past was changed, it warped around him, but I don't know, I had some problems about how it all kind of worked out, and how you saw the changes, and then like all the timeline stuff you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give it a 4, just because mechanically speaking, it wasn't super solid, and I don't know, it kind of didn't really. They had opportunity to say like, oh, it happened this way because this happened. It was like, oh yeah, maybe, but this is kind of this is how things happen, but they changed, but not really. So 4 out of 10.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I was thinking 4 out of 10 as well. I did like that we saw different futures, the dystopian future and the other future, and then it's also kind of implied at the end that Lewis's future might be different as well, and so that I appreciated. Always nice to see a different type of time machine, so that was kind of fun. It was like a spaceship version of it, which was cool. And I like that he's a smart character, and I believe that eventually he could invent time travel. I still think it's maybe is a paradox a little bit. How does he invent it from a dream? I don't know. But, 4 out of 10.
Oh man, I feel like I'm being super harsh now on it. Like,
It's okay.
I liked the time travel to a certain degree, but I also could not get past the fact that it basically was science magic to like an nth degree. Like they never really explain it, which is fine, but also it affects so much of the plot how it's created that it just seems just a little too convenient. Like time travel just seems to exist because it exists, but it doesn't really have a reason for existing.
Yeah, it's almost like he just built a spaceship and it happens to be able to travel through time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the bubble travel. It's like when you first think about it, you're like, oh, okay, they're going across, they're traveling by bubble. When you actually sit down and think about it for more than 10 seconds, you're like, that is a dumb idea.
Yep.
Or for an hour, as we did.
Right. So I got to give it a 2 out of 10 if it's time
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah.
I probably would have gotten more around there if I was less sick.
You're cold warmed your heart.
I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt because it was below average, but it is a kids movie, and they did actually do more with it than other kids movies maybe would have.
That's fair.
So that's why I gave it a 4. But
yeah. I mean, I was definitely pleasantly surprised.
Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes. This movie is 67%. Critics' consensus: Meet the Robinsons is a visually impressive children's animated film marked by a story of considerable depth. It's not really so much of a consensus as like just a fact, but okay. I guess considerable depth, I wouldn't necessarily agree, but there you go. 74% of audiences liked it, so that's good. 75%, it's like a C.
Yeah, it's just, I think that's about right where it belongs.
Yeah. Okay, so our next film is Matt's choice. So what'd you pick?
All right, so this movie, I don't know if many people have seen it. Was it a direct-to-video release, probably?
I think so.
Yeah, but it's called Time Lapse. It's from 2014, and it stars Danielle Panabaker. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, I just remember seeing it as I was browsing through Netflix for a while. I don't know if it's still on there, but it might be. But yeah, I've never seen it. But the description says, 3 friends discover a mysterious machine that takes pictures 24 hours into the future and conspire to use it for personal gain until disturbing and dangerous images begin to develop. Interesting. So it's like Paycheck?
Yeah, it sounds like
Kind
Paycheck
of a thing,
a little bit.
But not like palm reading, just a machine more that does it on its own. So that's, okay.
This movie, I have not seen it ever. I have never seen a trailer for it or anything of that nature. Yeah. But based on just looking at the poster for it, and when it was made, which is 2014, and when it came out, which is 2015, this sounds like something that they made it. Danielle Panabaker may not even be the biggest character in the movie, like in the top 3 principals. And then she got on The Flash, and they're like, "Oh, this is how we're going to sell this film." Yeah, and it just seems like. It's a very interesting because the poster is
is terrible.
It's terrible.
Well, there's another one too that looks like it's more.
Well, this one looks like I Am Number 4.
It does, yeah.
But
also, they're running like in that one Sean Astin movie.
Time
Slipstream, yeah, running towards a circle of light.
That's right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But okay,
so
that'll be fun.
Yeah, I heard about this movie somewhere at some point and was like, oh yeah, we should do this one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. I know some people sent us some new suggestions on Twitter, so we want to say a quick thank you to all of those people. We did add some of those to the list, so we will try and get to those when we can. And, keep sending any suggestions of movies or TV shows you'd like us to do. Let us know so we can kind of move those up and do those sooner for you guys. Thanks for listening to us. Our social media, we are at Time Travel Trio on Twitter and on Instagram. We are the Time Travel Trio podcast on Facebook. We are on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. If you rate, subscribe, follow us on all of those, we would appreciate it. If you rate us a written review on iTunes, we will make up a time travel story about you, your comment, and or your name. And personal, I am at Jen Marlis on Twitter and on Instagram if you'd like to follow me.
I'm at 4 Minute Space.
And I'm at Robinson is Hyde.
And
with that,
we are out of
Time.